Welcome. Today we're going to discuss sword of destruction and some of the ways in which you can relate it to other techniques in the American Kenpo system. Now keep in mind for this video, the idea is to show you some unique or different avenues in which you can explore how the technique is related and the structure of the American Kenpo system was built, and it's not necessarily a comprehensive list or family groupings for that matter. So before we get into some of the relationships, let's talk a little bit about the history. So the yellow belts were the last techniques that were created into the system, and the idea behind it was to do an introductory course into the American Kenpo system. Part of that was introducing the concept of being able to defend yourself quickly and efficient as possible. So that brings in our first relationship, which is going to be the quadrilateral zone theory. So the way to think about the quadrilateral zone theory is if we bisect the body vertically and horizontally, we are left with 4 zones, which is why it's called quadrilateral, because we have the 4 zones, 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom. So if we take a look at sword of destruction, as well as 3 other techniques that are in yellow belt, they introduce or they demonstrate this concept. So let's start out with sword of destruction, which picks up the upper right zone. And then we can move that to the left zone and do the delayed sword. And then we can do that to the bottom and pick up the bottom left with intellectual departure. And we can finish it up with something like deflecting hammer to pick up all 4 zones. So the thing to notice about it, or to pay attention from, is that this is designed so that you can do it off of any of those attacks. So if we were doing a grab, I could just as easily do sword of destruction, right? Anything that's coming, it could be a roundhouse, it could be straight, it doesn't matter because you're able to defend yourself quickly and efficient. So now that we did that, let's move on to a different way on how to relate sword of destruction, which is going to be through positioning. So if you notice sword of destruction, we start in our right neutral bow with our right hand in an extended outward block position and our left hand checking. So this position, and we can also call it usually position recognition as you move on through the techniques, is what we want to get to. I do my kick and I do my hand sword. But is this the only thing I can do? Well, no, obviously I don't want to kick, so I'm going to be able to use my hand because I want to change it. Again, I don't want to kick, I want to take advantage of my hand. So we do something like shielding hammer, right? So let's do that one more time. He comes in, and we do shielding hammer. So is that the only way in which we can get to that position? Well, obviously not. If we use the formulation equation, we can get to it a couple different ways. So let's take a look at something from changing the attack from an in-flag major to an applied minor, like clutch and feathers, where we start out with something completely different, but then I choose to put myself back in that position. So if you notice, we're in the same position. I know this is not how we do clutching feathers, but let's take a look at the position. We are here. All we're doing now is turning our defense, so instead of just checking, into an offense by shifting to a forward bow. So if you notice, we're in the same exact position, but we changed our stance and we changed the intent of the left hand. Now, if you notice, most of my weight is forward, so this would limit the ability of doing sword of destruction because I'd have to remove the weight. So what can we do? Well, we can do shielding hammer, which is why clutching feather ends that way. But because we can do shielding hammer, we can continue it to the elbow, right? So this is done through position recognition. So let's take this now instead of an applied minor, an in-flight minor. So he comes in with a push, and we do something like snapping twig, where we get to the outside, but again, I want to put myself into this positioning. And just like we did with clutching feathers, we're going to turn it into an offense. So now, the cool thing here is that we've already done the vertical, so now we want to do the horizontal, where I come and I do it on the horizontal instead of the vertical. So this leads us to another concept or another way in which we're going to relate sword of destruction. Everything I've done so far has been something that I wanted to do. It was purposeful. The opposite of that would be compelled. I'm forced to do something. So let's take the same scenario. He comes in with a major. I get my block. I want to do sword of destruction or shielding hammer, but he changes it and throws the right. So now I can choose to kick and trade strikes, but obviously I don't recommend it. So what we're going to do is shorten or contract our circle to turn offense into a defense so that I can pick up this block. But I want to continue doing sword of destruction because that's what I wanted to do. So we're going to do the kick and the chop, but we're going to do it with our hand by going low and then high. So let's do that one more time to make sure you guys are following. We got the block, he throws the punch, so we have to shorten our circle, and then again, we're forced to change what we're doing, so in this case, we chose to continue with the hand. So let's do a different way of looking at it. Direction. Everything we've done right now has been through the front, but could I do sword of destruction if he was behind me? Well, yeah, I step forward, I get my block, my kick, and my chop, right? But I know I don't have ice behind my head, although right now there's a mirror, so I was able to use it. But pretending we don't have a mirror, how could we do this? Well, just like we changed the inflex to applied, let's do that again. Let's change the attack so that he does an applied minor, where now I know where he's at. I don't have to have ice behind my head, so now I can do sort of destruction, right? And get back to this position. But we don't have to do this block. He's already grabbed us, so I no longer need to get to here. So now I can take advantage of doing the opposite of what we just did on unfurling crane, and instead of contracting the circle, I'm going to expand it, so turn my defense into an offense. So the idea here is now I'm going to be using that as the hand sword, and then reversing the sequence. Instead of using the foot and the hand, we're going to use the hand and then the foot. And because we're close, instead of using the front leg, we're moving it to the rear leg. But it's basically sort of destruction. So to recap everything we just discussed real quick, we related sort of destruction through direction of where you're getting attacked from, whether it was compelled or purposeful, whether you did position recognition through positioning, and through the quadrilateral zone theory. We hope this video helps you understand the American Kenpo system a little bit better. Thank you very much.